Hi, my name is Greg Pezacek, and I am an Institute for Common Power Educator Ambassador and an educator here in Central Florida. Here's your daily truth for June 7th. We're talking about June 7th, 1776. Richard Lee of Virginia presses our Continental Congress for a resolution and a declaration of independence from King George III and Great Britain. And in just 4 days, that resolution will be voted on and passed, and Thomas Jefferson gets to work drafting our Declaration of Independence, which we learn about in the history classes throughout our country. That's broken down into 5 parts. There's an introduction, a preamble, a body divided into 2 parts, and a conclusion. Well, that second part of the body includes a long list of grievances that the American colonists had against King George III in Great Britain. Things like for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, which we're going to try and correct with our Third Amendment to the Constitution. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. Think no taxation without representation. For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. Refers later on to our 6th and 7th Amendments to the Constitution. But Thomas Jefferson originally had a grievance included in the Declaration of Independence that read this: He, King George III, has waged cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in their transportation thither. This piratical warfare, the opprobrium of infidel powers, is the warfare of the Christian king of Great Britain. Determined to keep open a market where men should be bought and sold, he has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or to restrain this execrable commerce, and that this assemblage of horrors might want no fact of distinguished dye. He is now exciting those very people to rise in arms among us and to purchase that liberty of which he has deprived them, by murdering the people upon whom he has also obtruded them, thus paying off former crimes committed against the liberties of one people with crimes which he has urges them to commit against the lives of another. Now, obviously, this grievance didn't make it to the final draft of the Declaration of Independence, and in Thomas Jefferson's own words in his autobiography, he said, "The South never attempted to restrain the importation of slaves, and the northern states also had been pretty considerable carriers of them to others. He knew that he wouldn't have gotten the votes and the approval of this declaration if this grievance was included." So what ultimately ends up being included in the Declaration of Independence that might refer to African Americans or slavery? Well, the last grievance in our Declaration of Independence reads like this: He has excited domestic insurrectionists among us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. And so, while our daily truth is June 7th, and we're talking about Richard Lee moving forward a resolution to get our Declaration of Independence written, the fact of the matter is, we had an opportunity to include a grievance that was a little bit more accurate and truthful in regards to what was taking place with slavery and African Americans at the time. And instead, what we end up with is a 2-line, ending, which refers to African Americans seeking freedom from enslavement as domestic insurrectionists. And that is your daily truth for June 7th, 1776.